Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and today I'm coming to you with my spring TBR. I did this last year and I had some success in reading the books that were on my seasonal TBRs. So this year I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm not going to focus so much on the actual season, but what I like to read in that season. Because I feel like we can all relate to that there's certain genres we like to read in certain seasons. In the fall, we like to read, those thrillers and horrors. And for me in the spring, I want romance. I want love in the air. I want love and happiness and just joyous feelings. And romance always gives me that. So I went looking on my shelves, looking on my Kindle for 5 romances that I would really like to get into this spring. So let's dive into those 5 and see what are on my top romance spring TBR. I had to put the golf romance on this list. This is Tessa Bailey's newest book, Fangirl Down. It is a golf romance. And I've been starting to read sports romances. I definitely want to read more this year. But golf is not one that I knew that I needed. But Tessa Bailey has written one. And I need to know what this is about. I need to know the golf puns that Tessa Bailey puts into smut. If this exists, I need to know what it is. I can't be having the FOMO on a golf romance. So I have pre-ordered this, and actually next week, Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to be reading this on Sprints with Bree. So this is definitely going to get read, which is good because, like I said, I had varying success with my spring TBR last year, whether I read them or not. So this one is definitely happening. This follows Wells. Wells is an up-and-coming kind of golf star, but all of a sudden he starts to kind of be problematic. He's showing up hungover, he's breaking his clubs, he's having some issues, and everyone kind of stops rooting for him except for one fan that just keeps showing up and being really excited for his golf. He then quits golf. And Josephine, who is that one fan, goes home and is kind of like, well, maybe I was believing in the wrong golfer. Until Wells shows up at her door and kind of works out a deal with Josephine to be his caddy, but if they win, they'll split the prize money. I have no idea how this is going to go, but I'm excited to find out. This next book has very mixed reviews, but I still want to read it. I own it. I want to read it, give it a try for myself. And that is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This book sounds really similar to like Love and Other Words, which I really liked, and A Little Magic, which I also really liked. So I'm hoping that I like this, even though I know it's had some mixed reviews. If I have moved slightly, it's because my camera went out of storage. I have fixed that, and now we're going to continue from where that left off. This follows Fern and Will. Fern and Will spend 24 hours together. It's quite a whirlwind 24 hours, and for some reason, they have to go back to wherever they're from. So they agree to come back to this spot at this lake a year later and kind of see where life is for them at that point. Fern shows up, Will does not. Fast forward to 9 years later, Fern is going through a change in her life. She's broken up with her boyfriend, her life is changing, and she's kind of looking for what's next for her when all of a sudden Will does show up. 9 years late, but here he is. He's got a suitcase and he's got some ideas to help her out. As I've mentioned, this does sound very similar to a couple of books that I've really enjoyed, so fingers crossed that I love it too. Back to our sports romances with the Dating Playbook by Farrah Rashan. This book is the second book in the Boyfriend Project series. I read the first over a year ago. It's been a while, and I need to continue. This follows Taylor. We do meet Taylor in the first book. In the first book, we follow Samaya, and she is dating this guy, and then she finds out he is dating a bunch of people through Twitter. And one of those people is London, and one of them is Taylor. And Samaya and London and Taylor, they build a friendship over kind of being scorned and cheated on by this guy. Taylor is a personal trainer, and in this book we follow Taylor as she's doing her personal training thing. And she gets hired by a football player. He wants to get back into the NFL and he hires her to train him. However, he doesn't want anyone to know that she is training him, and I'm not really sure why that is from the synopsis, but here we are. Eventually, it does get out. I think the paparazzi catch them and assume they're a couple, not necessarily trainer and trainee. And I think they kind of start just kind of letting people believe that. And obviously it's a romance, so things happen. At First Bite by Olivia Dade, I had to read this book. Bree read it recently and has talked about it so much. and has me so excited to read this book. It sounds so interesting. Plus, it has plus size rep. So like so many great things are happening in this book right off the bat. And I cannot wait to read this very, very soon. This book follows Athena, and Athena's fiance ends her engagement, but now she has no choice but to move into the apartment that she bought in Spite House. And this apartment is next to her ex-fiance, but also his brother, Matthew, who convinced him to end the engagement, is living across the street. So she's like sandwiched in among these two people that she wants nothing to do with. And because she's having to go through this, she decides, I'm going to make this person pay. And she starts to really annoy Matthew, who is across the street, because she kind of blames him for everything that's gone on in her life. But the problem is, he sees that and he's not mad that he ended the engagement. He thinks it should have ended. He's not mad that he kind of meddled where maybe he should not have meddled. But he is upset that he has upset Athena and that Athena is now going through all these things. So he decides to help her. He helps her move. He listens to her. He's very nice to her. And obviously it's a romance, so I have a feeling some things happen. This really sounds very similar to The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa, and I loved that book. So I'm excited to read a book that maybe is of similar vibes. This will be my first Olivia date, which is crazy because I know there's so many fantastic Olivia dates to read. This will be my first, but I doubt will be my last. And finally, I need to read the most talked about romance series here on the BookTube because my FOMO level for this series is through the roof. And that is Chestnut Springs and Flawless by Elsie Silver. I need to read about the Canadian Cowboys. Everyone is talking about the Canadian Cowboys and I need to know what is happening with this series. I need to know the things I feel left out. So I'll be reading this over the spring. And if you did not notice, I did post an announcement video with Claire and Leandra that we will be doing a read along of this series over the spring and summer. So I will definitely be getting to this. I feel like this TBR, I actually will read all the books because I'm very pumped for all of them. And a couple of them are like mandatory reads for me. So like, am I actually going to complete a seasonal TBR? That's the plan. That's why I'm kind of switching it up to the vibes versus springy books directly because I need to actually read the books. Each book follows a different Easton brother. This one follows Rhett and Summer. Rhett is a professional bullfighter, but something happens. He's causing some issues. So his agent is like, you need to get your act together. And my daughter is going to basically babysit you and make sure that happens. Obviously, she's kind of off limits because she's the agent's daughter. But I think things happen because it's a romance. Those are the 5 romances that I would like to read this spring. I feel really confident that I will. But, you know, I always feel confident when I make these TBRs. And then we go back and look at them and it's iffy. Is there a book you would like to get to this spring? Let me know. I would love to hear about it. Maybe it's something that I need to add to my TBR. Chat to me down in the comments and I will see you in the next one. Bye.